Hi, I'm Mihal Chamberlain, Massachusetts President for Bank of America. Recently, our company committed an additional $100 million to organizations across the country, many of them right here in Massachusetts, like Lovin' Spoonfuls, an organization that is helping fight hunger by distributing fresh, healthy food to those in need. We're proud to support this year's Chef-a-Thon and our broader communities. Now enjoy the evening alongside one of Boston's finest chefs.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for night 3 of Chef-a-Thon. My name is Erin Coheen, and I'm the Senior Director of Development for Lovin' Spoonfuls. I'm so excited to welcome you to this really special night. We have Culinary Board Member Colin Lynch, who is going to do an amazing cooking workshop for you all, as well as a Q&A with TJ Douglas, who is the owner of the Urban Grape located in the South End. For those of you who are new to Lovin' Spoonfuls that may be fans of our participating chefs or guest speakers, we are a food rescue and hunger relief organization located in Boston, Massachusetts. Our work is to rescue food that would otherwise go to waste from local partners. These include grocery store retailers, wholesalers, farms, and CSAs, and distribute that food in the same day to more than 160 nonprofit partners. Each week, we rescue about 75,000 to 80,000 pounds of food and distribute it to about 30,000 individuals. Since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have rescued and distributed more than 1.3 million pounds of food, which has gone on to create more than 1 million meals to the folks here in Mass. I want to thank our sponsors, Bank of America and Little Leaf Farm, for your dedication to not only Lovin' Spoonfuls, but the work that we are doing here in the COVID pandemic. I hope you enjoyed the program. Again, thank you to our sponsors, Bank of America and Little Leaf Farm, for your contribution and commitment to Lovin' Spoonfuls. Enjoy the cooking workshop, enjoy the Q&A, and we look forward to hopefully seeing you all very soon. Thank you.
Hi everybody, welcome to my kitchen at home. I want to say thank you very much for being involved in the Chef-a-Thon. Super excited that Lovin' Spoonfuls asked me to jump in on this. They've been such a great part of our community, so I'm really excited. My lovely wife Heather is working the camera, so you might hear her a few times chime in if there's anything I'm doing that doesn't make sense or might need some clarification. She'll help with that.
Hi everyone.
So just really quick before we get started, we're gonna do 2 dishes actually. It's gonna be a nice little kind of summer scallop dish and some beautiful tomatoes. But before that, we just want to talk really quickly about why this is so important to us. Since the pandemic, obviously so many people have been affected, lost their jobs, restaurants are closed, businesses are closed. It's hitting them really hard. But unfortunately, the hardest part is that none of the work that needs to be done to get people food who are kind of dealing with hunger that are being impacted by that can stop. It still needs to keep going. So thank you to everyone who's out there watching this and who's helped donate. Every little bit counts. It's such a big part. Just so you know, like Lovin' Spoonfuls, since the pandemic started, it's already rescued over 1 million pounds of food, which is incredible. Their team is just incredibly brave to be out there doing the work continuously. So it's really amazing, and we're very, very thankful for that. So 2 dishes we're going to do today. We have all the ingredients out here. We'll just go through them real quick. The first one, we just started getting these awesome little tomatoes. They're these little heirloom cherry tomatoes of all the different colors. And then these are little sun gold tomatoes. They're super sweet, but have a nice acidity to them. We have some nectarines, some fresh herbs, a little bit of Vidalia onion, and a little burrata. So we're just going to show you how to put together a really simple salad, and it's really the herbs that make it a little unique, and the addition of nectarines. And then over here we have everything for our scallop dish. So we have some beautiful dayboat scallops from New Bedford that we'll pull out of the fridge in a minute. We have some lovely corn. We have some Thai basil. This is a Calabrian chili, so it's a nice spicy chili from Italy. I love these guys when they come in the jar because they come packed in oil, and the oil is almost as kind of useful as an ingredient as the chili itself. a little bit of bacon, and then we have some scallions and garlic scapes here. If you can't get garlic scapes, just scallions is fine. And then we have some really awesome lettuce. This is a company and a farm that's been super helpful and very diligent about the work that they're doing with Lovin' Spoonfuls. So we want to make sure we kind of highlight them. It's Little Leaf Farm. They're from right here in Massachusetts. And I kind of want to show you something interesting where, I mean, this is really delicious stuff, and very simply, you can take it out of the package and add your favorite dressing and some vegetables and stuff like that. It'd be a great, easy, simple salad. My wife and I, we don't have any kids or anything, so we're only cooking for 2 all the time. So oftentimes I'll go and I'll get like a pack of lettuce like that, and we only need half of it to make a salad that day. So it kind of sits in the fridge, and after a couple of days, it can start to turn a little bit, and it's still perfectly edible and delicious, but you might not want to use it for just a fresh salad. So we're going to show you how to kind of utilize that product so it doesn't go bad, and you can, you know, keep going for a couple of days without just having the same salad over and over again. You can kind of mix it up a little bit. So to get started for the salad part, tomato salad, this is a nice Vidalia onion, and all we're going to do is cut this guy and shave it on a mandolin. So be super careful with that. If you don't have a mandolin, obviously you can just shave it really thin with a knife. I love a mandolin because it makes it very consistent, and you can get it paper thin. You might not be able to do with a knife, it's not sharp enough. So I love raw Vidalia onion in salads, and red onion's just as good as well. White onion, if you like it, if you really like onion, would be fine, but it's definitely gonna have a little more spice to it. So that's all you need, just a little bit like this. And then we're just gonna soak this in cold water for a few minutes. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna kind of wash away a little bit of that sulfur that's in it. And that's gonna help it be a little more mild and bring out some of the sweetness of the onion. So next we have our nectarine. I love nectarines because they have a little more acidity than peaches do, and they're a little firmer. So they work really well in the salad next to the tomatoes. And we're just gonna cut little slices. Obviously, if you want to dice them up, that's fine. So our bowl here. Just gonna add our nectarines. These are the sun-gold tomatoes. You have your nice cherry tomatoes. This is definitely something you only want to do with really beautiful farm cherry tomatoes, because the salad's really just about that. If we were making something where the tomatoes are cooked down, you can do it any time of the year with like grape tomatoes or something like that, but because that's really the start of the show, you really want to save this for the summer, for when tomatoes are really beautiful and coming from local farms. So with this, we're going to put a little bit of lemon juice. Good amount of olive oil. Do not skimp on olive oil. And find one that you love and use it consistently. We use a Sicilian olive oil called Partana at the restaurants. We're going to season it with a little salt and pepper. And then we're going to add some fresh herbs. This is just some fresh basil. Tear up. We have fresh dill, also. Tear up into little pieces, but you don't really want to chop it. You want to have like kind of chunks of herbs. One of my favorite parts about Italian food is how they kind of layer flavors, where it's not like French food, which tends to be cooked down all together for a long time and everything kind of tastes very similar. It's like a depth of flavor behind it. A lot of Italian cooking, you have this beautiful freshness where it's like pops of flavor. So that's what we're trying to achieve. So for this one, we're gonna take our burrata. This is burrata made in Vermont, Maplebrook Farm. And burrata is just a product, it's mozzarella that they then stretch out, and then they fill it with a combination of cream and more mozzarella curd called stracciatella. So it's almost like you almost call it a mozzarella water balloon. So then we're just going to take our beautiful tomatoes and herbs all around here. That's why I love this dish. It's so simple. It takes just a few minutes of prep to get it all together. And then we're going to take just a little bit of finishing salt. Here I have fleur de sel or Malden, something that's a little bit chunkier, like a nice coarse sea salt. And that'll it won't dissolve into the tomatoes right away. So as you're eating it, you'll get these like kind of crunches of salt and like pops the flavor there. So that is our beautiful tomato salad. So that's our tomato salad. Next we have our beautiful corn and scallop dish. So we get some great scallops from New Bedford, local scallops, and some beautiful corn. That lettuce that we mentioned earlier, I'll show you how to cook that. Lettuce isn't just for salads, there's so many other things. A little bit of Calabrian chili, and then we have our herbs. Like I said, there was some garlic scapes here, a little bit of scallion, there's some Thai basil, and these are just some chive blossoms. So if you don't have those, again, just scallions is fine, chives are fine, any fresh soft herb would be great in this. Right now we just have some bacon rendering out over here. So just let this render till it's crispy, probably take like 5 minutes. While we're doing that, we'll grab our scallop. So you can see these are really beautiful, big, these are like, U8, U10 scallops. One of the things you want to make sure is that they're dry. If they've been frozen before, when you get them, you'll see them, they'll start leaching out some of their liquid, and it's going to be really hard to get a good sear on them. Same thing if they're those like not local scallops that they've soaked in a solution that helps plump them up, and it's essentially making them way more than they originally did, so you're getting ripped off there. It's really important to have a fishmonger you trust. We've used Captain Martin's, Sunny Seafood, Wolf's is great, and then Red's Best actually in the Boston market is really excellent as well. So for these, even though they're nice and beautiful and dry, you also want to make sure that right before you're going to sear them, that you take out a paper towel or a little side towel, and we're just going to make sure that they're extra dry. And then you don't want to season these too far in advance, because again, that's going to make some of the moisture come out and make it more difficult to sear them. Just keep cooking those down. Don't worry about it. The corn we've taken off the cob really quickly, super easy. And then one of my favorite ingredients, Calabrian chili that we talked about earlier. So again, you can see the chili itself, they're quite spicy, but they have a nice, very fruity flavor to them too. And then you see all this beautiful chili oil. If you get them in a jar, you never throw that chili oil away. It's almost like having a second condiment. We use it all the time just to help dress salads and things like that. There's going to be a great drizzle over this dish. So we're just going to chop some of this chili. Don't need a ton. I like to keep it in not super fine, but kind of chunkier pieces so that people can kind of eat around it if they want to. Once this bacon's rendered out, we're going to take it out and just drain it. I'm going to take some of the bacon fat out of the pan. just going to add a little bit of olive oil to the pan. I'm going to start searing our corn. Season out a little bit of salt. Don't go crazy because you have the bacon that's going to add salt to this. Nice fresh ground pepper. And we're just going to add some of this lettuce and kind of cook that down with the corn. Make it a little richer with a little bit of butter. A lot of bit of butter, depending on what you think a lot or a little bit of butter is. Here we got our scallions and garlic scapes. Those can cook for a minute. And at the very end, we're just going to add the Thai basil, because you want that to go right before it goes on the plate. Our chopped chilies. My wife Heather loves spicy food, so we'll put a good amount in there, but you can go a little less if you don't. So if you just omit the butter, it's pretty much dairy-free anyways. This is also just a great side dish for any number of grilled items. I love corn and scallops together, particularly. You could obviously omit the bacon if you wanted to. So here we have our scallops. We're going to season these fairly liberally. A lot of people say don't put black pepper on white fish. I don't agree with that. I love black pepper. Only pepper one side though. In this part, we're going to get the fans on so I don't set the fire alarm off on our neighbors. I'll try and talk loud. Make sure you have a really hot pan. You want a really hot pan.
How long did you have the pan on ahead of time?
I mean, that was on medium heat for probably like 5 minutes. So the whole trick to having fish not stick to your pan when you're cooking it is a very hot pan. So you're just going to not touch those. You can kind of see on the edges, like right here, how that's getting a beautiful golden brown already. So this we want a nice golden all the way across the entire scallop. Don't be afraid, just keep adjusting your heat as you need. And these are big scallops, so it'll probably take about 2 to 3 minutes per side. Just very carefully turn them over. You obviously use like a spatula. We're very comfortable using spoons all the time in the restaurant for pretty much everything. At this point, we're just going to grab a little bit of lemon. and some butter. I'm going to baste this with a little bit of butter. A little squeeze of lemon helps cut that richness. You just want that butter to brown a little bit. It just helps give it a nice nutty flavor. I know it looks like a lot of butter, but almost all of it's going to stay in the pan. Let's go. So now we can complete this up to go. Okay, so the last minute, we're just going to add our Thai basil. Again, just a rough tear on that, right on top of the corn. Our plate here. Here. We're going to put our scallops all over the top of that. We have our bacon that can go around. I like to keep the bacon on separately so it stays nice and crispy. And again, so that not everything kind of infuses with that bacon flavor, you kind of get pops of bacon as you're eating. Nice smoky, salty. And then we're just going to garnish some of these cherry blossoms, which also have a nice onion flavor to them. So it's really simple, quick. Obviously, you can grill the scallops if you want to do this outside, but nice little, almost like corn succotash with some braised Little Leaf Farms greens, some bacon, Calabrian chili, and some day-boat scallops. So thanks again for joining us. I hope you find this delicious. I hope you actually cook it. It's really fun. And thank you so much for all your support for 11 Spoonfuls. We all appreciate it.
Hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be here with TJ Douglas, owner of the Urban Grape here in the South End. I'm dialing in from my home in the South End and was super excited to get TJ on the line and start talking about some really meaningful content that's going on not only right now in COVID times, but an initiative that he and his wife have started at Boston University. I'm excited to dive in there. But TJ, thank you so much for participating. We're so glad to have you.
I'm excited that you asked me to do this, Erin. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So, if, I know I just gave a very short introduction. If you wanted to give just a quick who you are, where you are, about you, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So I am 41 years old. I'm a small business owner. My wife, Hadley, and I have two sons who are 11 and soon to be 14. We live in Jamaica Plain. I've been in the city for about half of my life and about half of her life. And, we are big community supporters. We always try to do more. You touched on our wine studies award that we're going to be doing at BU, which we'll get into later, which we're excited to talk about. And just excited to be here and hopefully the stories that I may have or some of my experiences might be able to open up eyes and ears to people that might not, be a 41-year-old Black man in Boston.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much in advance for telling your story. I will preface this to everybody watching. TJ and I are both enjoying a nice glass of wine at the end of the day. So please join us in raising a toast to not only the work that we're doing at Spoonfuls, Colin's awesome workshop that he just shared with you all, but also some really good conversation that we're about to have. So TJ, I know you and I have talked before, just in leading up to this conversation. I'd love to dive into sort of your background and, when you've heard of Lovin' Spoonfuls and the work that we do in addressing hunger relief and food insecurity in Massachusetts. I know you have personally gone through some food insecurity in your own life. I would love to just hear a little bit more and maybe where it's all connected.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is all connected, and I'm glad that we're having this conversation because it's really a conversation that I've only had in my house with my wife and kids. So I'm glad to be able to have this conversation. I grew up in New Haven, Connecticut, and we grew up during the Reagan era. And I went to public school and had free lunch. And why it's important I say we grew up during the Reagan era is because I remember that in public schools in New Haven, and I think maybe even in the country, ketchup was considered a vegetable. And I just think that's so messed up, with our kids now. We're like, eat your vegetables. We don't do it that hard, but eat your vegetables, try it. It's good for your body. You want to grow and get strong. And then you think about what I was offered and all the kids that are my age and, maybe a little bit older as well. Ketchup was our vegetable if, we couldn't have vegetables at home or bring our own lunch to school. My mom, single mom, dad wasn't in the picture at all. And, we were on welfare and food stamps while she went to school as an older mom. I think she's probably like 26 or 28 years old. And she knew that education would be able to get us out of, I called it the project. She called it an apartment complex, but it was actually the project in New Haven. And she worked hard to get us out, and she ended up getting her MSW and moving us from New Haven, Connecticut to Vermont when I was 13 years old, which was an absolute culture shock. But back to New Haven, I remember we were given $400 a month from the state to survive. $400 a month, and that's supposed to cover rent, utilities, education, gas to go to work. But I think back in the day, if you were on welfare or food stamps, you weren't really allowed to work, because if you worked, then you couldn't get the subsidy. And so, my mom worked under the table, or she would find a way to work, kind of either as a laborer or just really, lower end jobs. She ended up working at a grocery store for I think a couple of years. And what that allowed us to do, it allowed us to buy all of the no frills, cereal and milk and, eggs that were old at an extreme employee discount. And that's how we, that's how she made the $400 a month work. I mean, think about that, $4,800 a year. So growing up that way, I took food very seriously. Like if it was on my plate, I ate it. There was zero waste because there couldn't be. And I looked at all of the other kids in our apartment complex. I think it was 100 plus apartments, and we ate very well compared to them. My mom worked really hard to, put the healthiest possible food on the table. She had a little too much pride to get the government cheese, but she spent her money and she made sure that we got Land O'Lakes, right? And so she would try to give me something nice. And, I really try to instill that with my kids nowadays. Well, it's a different conversation with them because, now we're taught, don't force your kids to eat because then they're not going to have expansive palates, and, it will actually, create food issues with them.
Sure.
Where my issue is food insecurity, our kids have food security. And, even when we moved to Vermont, we would, get groceries dropped off from random people to help out. We used to shop. I can't remember the name of the store, but it was like a no frills store where everything was either like, a ripped label or a dented can. And, I remember Hadley and I had been together for almost 20 years now. And I remember years ago, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to make this amazing like dish that my mom used to make when we just wanted a special meal. And Hadley's like, okay, like you're going to cook. This is amazing, right? I'm a dishwasher by trade. So, so like, oh, we're going to have this. And it was egg noodles, cottage cheese, and frozen peas. She's like, this is disgusting. But for me, Erin, this was my, we're having our special meal. And if you break down the cost of that, what is it, $1 or $2 maybe for two of us to eat, and it lasted a couple of days. So I know food insecurity, and I also know that within that realm of having food insecurity, that I was also I was one of the lucky ones.
Yeah.
We had a little bit of education. We had an opportunity to be able to have my mom work in, either a food co-op or, at a grocery store. And I grew up mostly vegetarian, and it wasn't by choice. It wasn't for, animal cruelty or anything like that. Is that we couldn't afford meat.
Yep. It's interesting. So I think, I don't know if you knew this, but so much of what we do at Lovin' Spoonfuls is focusing on that fresh, healthy product. Mm-hmm. So whether it's fresh produce or dairy product or meat, because of our refrigerated trucks, we're able to offer to a lot of our partners that fresh product that traditional food banks aren't typically able to supply. Right. Because in life, to your point, everyone deserves to have meat, dairy, produce that is fresh and healthy. Ketchup as a vegetable is insane. And, I think that's something that we take so much pride in. Just the other day, we realized that 66% of what we've recovered since, I believe, the beginning of June and distributed has been that fresh produce, meat, and dairy. So that is, close to probably 1 million pounds of food that is being given to folks that would otherwise maybe not have access to it. So I think that's...
I mean, I'm looking at it not even as maybe not have access to it.
Right.
And, all of this food that you're finding and you're being able to distribute out, it needs to be more. There's many more people out there that have my same story and even worse, Right. When I ended up moving to Vermont, I started working at a restaurant when I was 14 years old as a dishwasher. And, it's hard for me to say this because I think it's disgusting, but, plates, I worked in a steakhouse, and plates would come back with like, oh, like there's a half a potato and it was cut, it wasn't eaten. Oh, like, I'll throw that in my mouth. Right. Or, oh, there's steak left over. And I'm like, oh, I'll take a couple bites of this, I only have, I don't know what I'm going to have at home. And so I've had this, and I did that. I don't have a concept of time of how long I did that for, but it was the dishwasher that worked behind me. And mind you, I'm 14, 15 years old here. Yeah. The dishwasher behind me, also in 8th grade, maybe, that got mono, from eating there. And I never ate off someone's plate again, but, here I am cleaning and just throwing away untouched food. And it was, it's hard to say, but it kind of kept me in the restaurant business. I worked at McDonald's for a couple of years after that, because guess what? I got 1 to 2 free meals a day. And when I wanted to go there, and playing basketball and sports, I showed my employee card and I got a discount. So I found a way to work within the system to provide me with food.
Yeah, I think that's what one thing I think COVID has taught us all is everyone can be vulnerable and can be affected by something like this that no one maybe would have ever predicted. I have so many friends that work and exist and have built their careers in hospitality. And, we are the fortunate partners of so many amazing friends in hospitality, all of the chefs that are participating in the Chef-a-Thon. And there's not a single person that has been so generous to Lovin' Spoonfuls and to me personally, whenever I've gone out to eat at all these wonderful places, that isn't affected right now by COVID. I think to your point about that free meal, I can't even imagine the folks that have been furloughed or let go or, are wondering when they will be able to go back to work, that work in hospitality, that provided that grounding for them for so long in, not even realizing that they might have been food insecure without their job. And here they are now with COVID, which is really interesting.
Right. I mean, to me, having a food insecurity doesn't mean that you're hungry. It just means that you're not getting what you deserve, and getting what you should be able to have access to, as everyone does. When COVID hit, and we, TJ Douglas, Hadley Douglas, are in a different world right now in terms of where I was, where ketchup was my vegetable. But when COVID hit, and we're in March, and everyone, on the globe that was able to started panic buying.
Yes.
Right. And so the food insecurity for people that can, sit and watch this and do a Zoom and, on a MacBook and, drink rosé and this, like, our food insecurity for a brief moment went, oh my God, they're out of, grass-fed beef.
Yeah.
What are we going to do? Right. Or, wow, at one time, all the Campbell's soup or Progressive chicken noodle soup was out of stock on Amazon. Right. But we had the opportunity that when it was dangerous and everyone knew that it wasn't safe to go to a grocery store because we didn't know, people weren't properly prepared with PPE and what was hard for people, I think, in our world right now was that, okay, we order now and the people that are going to deliver our groceries to us are going to have to substitute, right? And we don't like that because it's kind of changing how we cook. It's changing how we eat. And then to step back now and look at that, we're like, wait, seriously?
I know.
Like we were stressing because they were out of our favorite type of meat, where down the road, across the street, the people that work with us, the kids that go to our kids' school, they might have ketchup.
Yeah.
So it's important to look at all sides of food insecurity, but really focus on the people and the true need of it.
Yeah. And the humanity behind it. It's a basic human right. Having access to
Absolutely.
food is a basic human right. And, I think that every so often throughout this past going on now 5 months, which is insane to say.
Crazy. Yeah.
I had a moment where I kept saying 3 months and Ashley, our executive director, is like, Erin, it's been almost 5. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's like being 30 again every birthday, right?
It is.
Groundhog Day.
But we've had to be so reflective at Spoonfuls to say, okay, let's take these timeout moments to make sure that we are doing the best we can for the partners that we have, because on their end user, that client that goes and shows up that day, we want to make sure they have what they need and what they want, which is really important. I'm curious.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was just saying, I know Lovin' Spoonfuls, one of the, I don't know if you call them clients, but one of the areas that you help out and you do Rosie's Place, which is around the corner from the Urban Grape. And we've done a ton of stuff with them over the year, really trying to help them, not from the wine side, but maybe fundraising or, amplifying, their voice and their need. So, thank you for helping them out, because that's, even though we live in JP, what allows us to live in JP is our business in the South End, and that's our community there. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and it's amazing just watching all of these nonprofits really have pivoted. I know that seems to be the word of 2020 for across the board. But, looking at a Rosie's Place or a women's lunch place where their community meals can't happen anymore. So what they were able to do was really incredible. And that is a testament to their leadership and strategy. And it's just incredible. So I'd love to, you mentioned you have 2 boys, and talking with them about food security or, the importance of what you have. How do you talk to your family about maybe either what's going on with COVID or what's going on, with all the racial injustices going on in the world? How are those conversations happening for you and your family?
We've always talked about. I mean, we're in an interracial relationship. We're an interracial family. We live in a very white area here in Boston, and we have conversations like we always have at the dinner table about race, about racial justice, and just really having an open dialogue always with them. So this is not new for them. What's new is understanding that people are being killed. Black people are being killed. And for my 13, almost 14-year-old, he has a phone, he has friends, he can communicate, he can read the news, he can see what's going on. Mind you, he's almost 14, so he's not talking about it a lot. We're kind of trying to, force it out of him. But my 11-year-old, my little guy, he doesn't know what's going on unless we say something about it. So, he gets so frightened to hear that because his daddy is a black man and a 6'3", 250-pound black man, that, sometimes my world is a little uncertain. And he asks sometimes like, Daddy, are you ever afraid that, you're not going to come home? And I said, I'm not, but I never really think about it because the way that I was raised and just in my DNA, I do different things than you would do if you got pulled over or if, our liquor store got mildly damaged on May 31st. And when the alarm company called my wife to get the security password because the alarm was going off, here I am in my store, and she's asking the security person on the phone not to call the police because her black husband is in a broken-in liquor store, right? So having that conversation with my kids are just wide-eyed and sad. My older son is just like, okay, so like, how do we change this? Like, let's get out there. Let's do this. This is so wrong. And my little guy is like, okay, what laws can we change to do this? And I'm like, well, there's really not a law for this. There's a law for this, but it's not really enforced. And, so how do we make that change? And so the conversations kind of come from two different sides, which is amazing. And they're smart kids and they're vocal, which is great. When COVID hit, as a business, we had our plan on March 7th, and then on March 11th, our plan, as you said, totally pivoted, right? Yeah. And thank goodness, we're entrepreneurs, we run a successful business, and so we can take that pivoted term and add successfully in front of that, right? We've successfully pivoted our business, and what that has allowed us to do is keep our people safe, our employees, half of which actually worked in restaurants full-time, and for me, part-time. And now we've been able, as they were furloughed, to give them, full-time work. We were able to make enough money and more profit because we're busy. All the restaurants were closed, but people didn't stop drinking, right? So across the United States, retail alcohol sales are absolutely through the roof because the restaurants are closed. And what that's allowed us to do is to give all of our employees pay increases and subsidize their parking so that they don't have to take public transportation. So that keeps them safe. We're transparent with our community and our customers, but talking to my boys about that, like, I want them to understand that there are so many good people in the world, people like you, people like us, people like them. And this is what's going to keep our community and our world safe and really moving forward, Erin.
Yeah. So I think I mentioned to you, I live right on Washington Street in the South End, and most of the protests that were going on during, when the Black Lives Matter and George Floyd really started picking up, it goes from Nubian Square right past my apartment. And, it was a really beautiful thing to see and be an observer and watch from, step outside of my apartment and sort of just watch these thousands of people walk by. It was incredible. And, I think to your point, remaining hopeful and knowing that all of this if we keep moving it forward, will cause change and really good things to happen to this city, which is in a lot of cases long overdue. So yeah,
Absolutely.
it's incredible. So in thinking of all that's going on, your initiative with Boston University has been in the news quite a bit, and the work that you and Hadley are doing to promote, this wine studies program and this wine studies award for people of color. I would love to learn a little bit more about that and what made you guys start to do that and what your goals are.
Goals are, I'll go backwards. Our goals are to level the playing field, level the industry, which I love so much, which is the wine and hospitality and food industry. The idea for the Urban Grape Wine Studies Award for students of color, that's the full name of it, at Boston University. That idea came up probably closer to 2 years ago. Awesome. When Hadley and I were talking, and I'm like, look, I really want to do something. She really wants to do something. I'm tired of being the only person of color, the only Black guy in a room at a restaurant, either working or dining. Being the only Black guy on a wine trip or going to a winery, or not seeing any of us really on social media or in publications. And the problem is because, a lot of people of color might not understand that the food and hospitality and wine industry, more focused on what we're doing, the wine industry might not be for them, right? And let's say you're growing up in an area like Nubian Square. When you're there, you might have a higher chance of having food insecurities. With that, if you're having food insecurities, then you might not have the ability or access for fresh veggies or proper meat or, the pyramid of food that we learned about when we were kids. If you don't have access to that, how are you ever going to think about wine? Right. Wine, and for me, like I drink wine every day, and most European countries, it's part of their lifestyle, but really in the United States, it's a luxury. Like we don't have to drink wine, right? Whether it's a $10 bottle or a $500 bottle, both are luxury items. And so if you don't live a luxury lifestyle, why would you ever think that? So when we started this award, it's a two-part award. One is an education in terms of taking a 4-level wine course, which lasts about a year at the Elizabeth Bishop School. It's part of the Met College at Boston University. It's the program that I went through. And you have a couple masters of wines that are the teachers of this program. And it's a great program because it teaches you about wine in general, how to taste wine, how to sell wine, how to buy wine, what you do with wine that you may already have, how to pair wine with food, and you come out very balanced. And I like this education because after coming through this course, it really gives you some options of what you want to do in the wine world, right? Do you want to go work in a restaurant? Do you want to be a salesperson? Do you want to come work in retail? So that's one part of it. And that's where the fund actually is. Hadley and I, from our COVID profit, but mostly from the profit on June 1st from our community, after we were broken into, a lot of people read about us and said, you know what, we're gonna support you. One, I'm gonna support you because you're a Black-owned business, or two, I'm gonna support you because you're a Black-owned business, and I didn't know you were a Black-owned business, and now I feel charitable and I want to do this. Or three, we got so much press from that that people didn't know that we existed as a business, even though in June we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary as a company. 7 years in this location in the South End. Yeah, it's crazy. So with that, with our profits from that June 1st day, mind you, I just said this is our 10-year anniversary month, right? The day after we were vandalized, mildly vandalized, we were transparent and supporting the Black Lives Matter movement, supporting peaceful protests around the country and around the globe. We had our biggest sales day as a company. Just nuts. The outreach from our community was unbelievable. So we took those profits from that day and a couple other days, and we started the award at Boston University. It was $10,000 from myself and Hads, and that made the award active. So that's going to put one student through the course this year starting in September. Awesome. Now, the second part of this program. I know I'm talking a lot about it, but
No,
I'm pretty
please.
excited.
I'm looking forward to it.
And it's not the rosé that I'm drinking. Like it's just, I'm so excited about this, Aaron. And for all your listeners, I hope you get just as pumped about this as I do. So this is an immediate change right here for the education side. The part that I'm really stoked about, though, is that there are three sides of the wine industry that I've worked in Boston for the last 20 years. The first was the restaurant side. So Tiffany Faison and Big Heart Hospitality, who I'm sure you're familiar with. She's got a couple great restaurants in the city. She is taking her time and creating through us a paid internship program and a mentorship program at one of her restaurants for this student. The second part of the program that I worked, so they'll learn like back of the house, front of the house, because right now, mostly brown and black people work in the back of the house, right? They're the dishwashers, the prep cooks, the guys who take the garbage out, maybe the bus boys, maybe a waiter or something like that, but it's rare that you're gonna find that. And this is what part of that changes. The second part of the industry that there's going to be focused on for this internship program is the wholesale side, so the distribution. These are the people that bring the wine into Massachusetts and distribute them to restaurants and to retail. And right now, as I see from all the delivery people that deliver our wine and spirits to the Urban Grape, most of them are black, which means that the black guys in these companies work on the loading docks, the warehouses, and are the truck drivers. But they're not on we call them on the street selling wine to people like me and to restaurants like Tiffany. They're in the back of the house. So MS Walker, a great family-owned distributor in Massachusetts, is going to do the same exact thing, a paid internship, as well as a mentorship program where they not only learn the logistics and working in the back of the house, in the warehouse, but they also get to work in the office and understand and be on phone calls. How does that wine actually get from the winery in France to Norwood, Massachusetts?
Very cool.
They'll get to work in the credit department and make sure that we all pay our bills from the wine that we buy. But then they'll also be able to work with a salesperson on the street and sell to wine people in restaurants and wine people in retail. And then the one that I'm most excited about is the paid internship at the Urban Grape. And that is working side by side with me and one of my managers. And we'll learn how to taste wine, sell wine, buy wine, but then we'll also learn how to run the brick and mortar of a retail. I'll teach them how to use QuickBooks. I'll learn how to, get, clients to pay, how to reach out to clients. And so as of right now, this is a three-pronged internship and mentorship program. And so when this person has the education through BU and then comes out and then works in three sides of the industry, Aaron, they'll come out and they can choose what they want to do.
It's incredible.
They're not going to be pigeonholed into this line of work or being in the back of the house or front of the house. If they want to go open up a store, they can do it. Once we hit $100,000 of donations for this award, it will then turn into an endowment. And what that will allow would be for one student for the rest of their program's life to go through this course. And the Urban Grape, Tiffany Faison and Big Heart Hospitality, and MS Walker have agreed to every single year do this for one student. But here's the thing. Once we get to $200,000, then it's two students.
Yep.
303 students. And we're using Boston because this is really my hometown. I've been here for 20 years. And this is the industry that we know, and this is where our largest network is. We're using this for proof of concept. And once we've proven our concept, then we're going to turn this into a 501c3 and take it national and do this in other major cities where there's a strong Black and brown population. And we're going to do this, and it's going to be amazing. And we're working with some people, and there will be a fourth prong to this idea, which is where they actually get to go work at a winery. And it's
that is,
how amazing is that? So I'm just only saying Nubian Square because you mentioned it, for where the marches started from.
Yeah.
Imagine 21. You got to be 21, right?
Yeah.
A 21 person has grown up in that area, and they never thought that wine would ever be an option for them as a career, as a lifestyle, right? They understand this. They make the application, which closes on August 15th. They have this. This can be and will be a generational change for them. And this will immediately change the landscape of the wine and hospitality industry in Boston, and hopefully moving forward across the United States. So that's the Urban Grape Wine Studies Award for students of color.
It's absolutely incredible. And, you know,
Yeah.
I think I'm going to include in the chat box a link to the page so that people can go on,
Yeah,
learn more about it, contribute.
apply. If you know of
Yeah.
anyone who wants to apply, please, 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 let's get some great applicants in here.
That's incredible. I think it's such a beautiful gift and way to steward this next generation of
Yeah.
hospitality folks, which is awesome. So kudos to you guys. That's great.
Thank you. And I believe you also asked, Erin, why now?
Yes.
Because now people are listening. People
Yes.
are feeling charitable. People are having these uncomfortable conversations, as we're calling, right? Another word that we're using all the time, uncomfortable now.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, having serious conversations about race. And so with the money in the bank to be able to support this financially, and with people saying, you know what, we do need to change our world. That's why we launched this 2 weeks ago.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes and how it grows over the years. It's awesome. Tiffany's a wonderful partner of ours as well, and has been a longtime supporter of Spoonful. So great partners, as well as MS Walker. They're great guys over there. I guess my last question to you, and this is something that I think we're trying to ask a lot of the participants here, for the folks that are tuning in, what, in your opinion, are a few ways that they can either have an impact in the Black Lives Matter movement or with food insecurity, hunger relief? What are some easy, actionable steps that people can take to help out in their community right now?
I think first you kind of designate where your community is. Is it your street? Is it your neighborhood? Is it the area that you live in? Is it the city that you live in? If we're talking Boston, you know, for me being a Black man and being in this industry, which I love, and being one of the only ones, I've been saying the same story for a long time, but now my voice is being amplified. Use your ability to amplify others' voices and stories, because the more that their voices and stories are amplified, the more conversations that we'll be having. And they don't need to be these serious conversations every single time. It could just be, you know, a quick chat with someone, you know, saying hello to someone that you might not say hello to. I think that could be one thing, but that's more morally and so personal, right? Like, step out of your comfort zone, which is not an easy thing to do. You asked what's easy, but everything that I just mentioned is free. It costs your time and maybe a little bit of emotion and a little bit more brain power, but it doesn't cost any money. See, the other thing that does cost money is support your small businesses in your community, no matter what color they are, no matter what race they are, or ethnicity. Support the people in your community, because the people in your community are what keep your business alive. You might have large corporate clients, but it's the people that come in every single day that live across the street and around the corner. Support those businesses. And if supporting them is buying their product or their services or their goods, but also, you know, we're in a world of Zoom and social media, you know, blow them up, you know, talk about them, tag them in something. I'm shocked how social media has changed our business. Even though we've always had a social media platform, the amount of new followers that we've had in the last, 2 months, has kind of beat what we've made in the last 5 years. And, if you can find that dry cleaner, that little grocery store, the person that comes in, the small company that cleans the playground for your kids to play in, blow them up, support them, say hello to them. And I've always been a very optimistic and positive person. There's so much good in this world. And right now people are trying to do better. So let's take this opportunity and take advantage of people trying to do better. And let's make them do better by asking them for help, amplifying voices, and just walking out of the house with a smile under your mask.
You can see it in your eyes. That's all that you need.
Smizing or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Smizing. Smiley eyes, as my mom used to say.
Yeah.
Well, TJ, thank you so much. I think, sharing that, it's so easy to get stuck in the minutia of all that's going on in the world and really focus in on the negative and the challenges that are happening. But, I think to your point, if you open your eyes and you walk down the street, there is so much good still happening and so many beautiful moments that we see in the city every day. And I'm sure people out in the suburbs see every day. People want to be engaging and want to be a part of a community again. So, if we can all do that together, I think we're going to be able to do some good things. So thank you so much for your time. I am so appreciative. Again, everybody, if you are in the city and you can visit the Urban Grape, please do. Be sure to check out the Urban Grape Wine Studies Award for Students of Color. Again, there will be a few links in the chat box during this webinar. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out to us at Living Spoonfuls. Again, TJ, thank you so much. Cheers to
Erin,
a great conversation.
Thank
So
you.
nice
Cheers
to meet
you.
you. Cheers.
Nice to see you.
Thank you all for joining us here tonight for Chef-a-Thon. I want to thank Chef Colin Lynch for an amazing cooking workshop that looked so good, as well as TJ Douglas. Thank you both so much for your effort and for taking the time to join us here tonight. TJ, that urban wine program sounds absolutely incredible. Thank you so much. I want to thank our sponsors, Bank of America and Little Leaf Farm. Your commitment to Lovin' Spoonfuls and the work that we are doing to support our communities most in need is absolutely incredible, and we could not do this without your continued support. So thank you so much. If anybody has any questions, we encourage you to reach out to either me at Lovin' Spoonfuls. I'm going to include my email in the chat box, or any one of our team members, and we would be happy to share more about the work that we're doing throughout not only the COVID pandemic, but also our goals in the future. We hope you stay in touch. We hope you enjoy the rest of the series. If you're participating night 4 or night 5, we have some incredible conversations and workshops still to come. Thank you all so much, and we hope you have a wonderful evening. Have a good night.